Finally.
Fans of 90 Day Fiancé, before the 90 days, tuned in to follow the budding romance between Geoffrey Paschel and his Russian girlfriend, Maria Molina.
I don't want to die.
They were a popular couple until fans learned that Paschel was facing domestic assault charges. He is accused of attacking girlfriend Kristen Wilson in June of 2019.
The fans off the show got together and said, we don't think that Geoffrey should be allowed to tell all because he has a history of domestic violence. And that swayed the producers and was not invited to the tell-all. And we never got to hear if he chose, if he was still with Faria.
Dropped from the season finale, the reality TV star went online and denied the allegations.
I know what happened. I was there.
Paschel told Dominic Nadi, a radio and YouTube host, he was going to fight the charges.
This is all just a ploy. This is all just an agenda to try to make me lose custody of my child.
Paschel is charged with aggravated kidnapping, domestic assault, interfering with an emergency call, and vandalism. According to the arrest affidavit, Wilson said Paschel was in an intoxicated state and assaulted her at her home. Wilson told police he grabbed her by the neck and slammed her head against a wall several times and then thrown to the ground. According to the police report, Wilson was displaying typical symptoms of a concussion, and she was taken to the hospital for further treatment. Police found Paschel at his home. He claimed Wilson's injuries were self-inflicted. Officers arrested Paschel and said that after he was placed in their patrol car, he tried to kick the windows out and needed to be restrained. Paschel says he rejected a plea deal and wants to go to trial to prove his innocence.
And they offered me no punishment whatsoever, just to have it on my record. I said no, absolutely not.
No punishment, and refuses it. He wants to go to trial. Let's talk about this one. Joining us from Memphis, Tennessee, criminal defense attorney and civil attorney Jeff Lee. Jeff, great to see you. What do you think about that one statement when the client says, listen, no punishment? No, I want to go to trial.
Well, there probably wasn't no punishment. They probably meant that it was sort of a time-served plea, that he wouldn't serve any additional jail time. I don't get the impression that they were offering to dismiss the case, which is what, the way he describes it, you would think. But certainly when a person is adamant enough, I want to take this to trial, they are risking, in the case of, domestic assault, up to 11 months and 29 days in jail. If some of the more serious charges, he could serve, 3 to 6 years. So when he says that, it means something.
So what does this come down to? Because it seems like the accuser / victim is going to have one story about what happened, and he's got a completely different one. And I would presume that he almost has to get up there and tell that story to have any chance of success here.
He has to. He gave a story to the police that night that these wounds were self-inflicted, so he really can't change that defense. I mean, it's to his credit that he can say, I've been saying this, since that night. But he's said on the media several times, I've got to tell my story. This is the reason I'm having a trial. So I can't imagine him not taking the stand and just playing it safe and saying, well, if that's all of the state's evidence, I don't even need to get up there because they didn't make their case. So
what do you think this is a product of? Could it be part of his personality? I mean, he's someone who wants to be on reality. And I know the personalities because, I want to be on TV, right? I mean, this is what I do. So I kind of get it a little bit. But do you think that's part of it, what's driving what's happening in this case? Because let's be honest, most cases like this don't go to trial.
I think he got bit by the fame bug when he was on 90 Day Fiancé. Obviously, that's sort of going away, and he wants to hold on to it. When he's making media appearances, he's kind of getting more shocking and more outrageous about the things he's saying. I think he's trying to hold on to the public's interest, and he's trying to bank on, the fact that he is in some ways a celebrity.
Well, let's talk about redemption, right? Because everyone's presumed innocent, but we know in reality, once you're accused of something like this, there's a cloud that's hanging over your head. Let's say he goes to trial and is found not guilty. Do you think there would be a level of redemption for Geoffrey Paschel in the eyes of the public? I mean, do people accept? I mean, sometimes I have a hard time, right, accepting these not guilty verdicts. But if it happens here, do you think he can go back to the world that he was once in?
He can certainly go, to his audience and say, what else can I do? I demanded a trial. I won the trial. I mean, legally speaking, that's a complete exoneration. But people also know that sometimes the jury found one person to be more credible. Sometimes the witness didn't show up. So an educated audience knows that sometimes people win just because the state wasn't prepared. The witnesses weren't as credible, or maybe they weren't as experienced, as smooth as he might be on the stand. So there will always be, in some people's eyes, this belief that once charged, I don't care what the jury said, I'll make my own decision.
And I've covered a lot of celebrity trials through the years, and there's an absolute advantage that they have in a courtroom. They just do. Even if they don't testify, just by being there, the aura that they sort of have around them. But now we're in a world, right, as Court TV was rebooted a couple years ago, first time around at Court TV, there weren't reality stars, right? It wasn't a thing. Now it's a huge thing. So what do you think the impact is of someone who's a reality star inside the courtroom?
Well, we've seen from, OJ on, there are people who want to get on that jury. They want to be where the action is. They want to see, this case from the jury box. They don't want to watch it on the news. People get excited about, book offers and other things. People want to be around celebrities. And we know that they sort of have that halo effect. Just coming in the room, people are already familiar with them. They say, I know that guy, I like him, I've seen him on TV. So they're maybe sort of, in awe of seeing him right here in front of us when, he was on television.
All right, give us the bottom line. This case, I believe, is being tried in Knoxville. What kind of juries we get in Knoxville?
I think that we're going to get people who will absolutely know the show, like him. It's a more, in some ways, rural audience, and they may find a lot of similarities with Geoffrey. I mean, Mr. Paschel, he has a lot in common with the typical juror there, and so I think that they'll like him. The big issue is when a case like this is put off, who does that give an advantage to? In general, when a defendant is out of custody, it gives them an advantage because maybe witnesses get lost, they lose interest in prosecution. But Mr. Paschel has at times been such a loose cannon, this trial delay because of COVID may give him chances to say something he shouldn't or even get new charges.
Little loose cannon. Jeff Lee, criminal defense attorney, civil attorney in Memphis. Thank you so much. Great to see you tonight.
Good to be back.